He's averaging 24.1 points and shooting at career-high 45% from three-point range. Keep your fingers crossed. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte with the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial. In a public opinion survey commissioned by KBLA Talk 1580 and conducted by Viteris, the black voters surveyed were highly enthusiastic about the March 2024 primary. The race for Los Angeles District Attorney is being hotly contested. Incumbent DA George Gascon's efforts to implement progressive criminal justice reforms have generated pushback from within his own office, the broader law enforcement community, and some in the general public. He was the subject of at least 2 failed attempts to qualify recalls. The concerns about crime are reflected in the polling results of black voters. Nearly 1 in 4 have been victims of violent crime or have someone close to them who has been a victim. 1 in 5 black voters have personally been victims of property crime in the last 2 years. A majority of respondents feel less safe than they did a year or 2 ago, but they reject the notion that criminal justice reform has gone too far. This year, black voters will be looking for candidates who speak to the complexity of the issues as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. Nearly half of black voters have an unfavorable view of DA Gascon, but his challengers are largely unknown. Nearly half of the black voters are also undecided, which means there's a clear opportunity for candidates to connect with black voters. Our poll makes 3 things abundantly clear. Black voters matter. Black voters are closely following this race, and the candidates for DA have a lot of work to do. KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to the mobilization and use of the franchise to empower our audience to identify and pursue their interests in advancing equity, inclusive representation, and multiracial solidarity. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. We welcome your feedback.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first,
not too quick. Tighten it a little bit. Yeah. Slow, take your time.
Oh, Lord, in your hand, in your hand. Oh, Lord, in your hand, in your hand. Cover your love and
take your time.
around me, so my enemies cannot
Now.
harm me.
There you go.
Oh, Lord, in your hand,
doesn't end or begin. Just changes form.
The Independent Spirit Awards are handed out this weekend. Among the nominees is writer-director Raven Jackson, who was inspired by her grandmother's photo albums to make an ode to Mississippi called All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt. We'll talk about it with Raven Jackson on the top side of Hour 2. On the B side of Hour 2, Lisa Bob Semple, the Director of Stamp Services for the U.S. Postal Service, joins us to talk about a new collection honoring the Underground Railroad. We'll do that on the back side of Hour 2 in our third hour.
Hi, I'm Franklin. Franklin Armstrong if you want to be formal about it. You see, my dad serves in the military. It always keeps my family on the move. Grandpa always told me, don't try to fight change because change is undefeated. I'm coming! I've lived in a lot of different places, but none that I can call home.
It is quite delightful. Jumpstart cartoonist Rob Armstrong joins us in Hour 3 to tell us how he turned his friendship with Peanuts creator Charles Schulz into Snoopy Presents Welcome Home Franklin, a new special with the Peanuts gang from Apple Plus. Charles Schulz immortalized Rob Armstrong in Peanuts as Franklin Armstrong, a character Schulz introduced after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. back in 1968. We'll talk to Rob Armstrong in Hour 3 about his new Peanuts piece called Snoopy Presents Welcome Home Franklin. But in this first hour today, I am pleased, delighted, and humbled to be joined by Ben Jealous, the man, the black man to be specific, who heads the Sierra Club, the nation's largest and most effective grassroots environmental movement. How delighted are we to be in dialogue right now with Ben Jealous. Brother Ben, how are you, my friend? It's been way too long.
Brother Travis, it is so good to hear your voice, man.
It's good to hear yours.
And I am great. You know, I teased Jamal, Reverend Jamal.
Bryant, yeah.
Jamal, yeah. We were in our 20s when we were on your show on PBS.
Yeah.
And we were getting ready to go to air.
Yeah.
And back then, there was a fashion, and as you know, our brother is always among the most fashionable.
No question.
There was that was back when Jesse Jackson was still trying to convince that brother to wear like pinstripes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen. And there was a fashion back then of having your monogram be like Japanese or Chinese characters.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this like, I don't know, like hot pink like shirt with French cuffs and these big Chinese or Japanese character monograms, and we were just about to go on air. And I said, Jamal, I said, do you even know what that means? He said, I have no idea. And I said, so you could be flashing millions of people in 30 seconds, like white on one side and power on the other, and you wouldn't know. And he was, for the first time I ever saw Jamal Bryant speechless, was the first 45 seconds of your show. That's a long way of saying I miss you. I think about you often, and every now and then, Reverend Bryant, Bishop Bryant, now and
yes.
I laugh about that moment.
No, that is. I'm sweating in the studio. I'm literally sweating right now. That's a funny story. That was wrong of you to do that to Jamal just before air being. That was wrong, man. To freak him out that way just before. But Jamal,
but here's the thing, right? What I love about you, because that was like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that you lifted up young brothers trying to do something to make the world better, when honestly very few other people saw us.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bishop's success, a lot of my success, honestly, it's impossible to measure, and yet we'd be fools to take it for granted, has to do with the way that we were able to sow ourselves into just the regular black folks' hearts.
Yeah.
You know, build awareness of who we were and what our mission was in this world, honestly, because you gave us airtime when very few other people would, and you gave us real airtime and real conversation. So that's your legacy, and I just want to thank you for it.
I am humbled. I am humbled, and I'm speechless. Like Jamal was that day on the TV show, I am now speechless. I thank Ben Jealous for those kind words, and I'm going to return the favor when we come forward. I'm rooting for everybody black, as we say around here, and I am so delighted at the success that Reverend Jamal Bryant has had as he pastors that huge church, New Birth in Atlanta. And Ben Jealous used to run the NAACP, as you recall, and now to be the brother running the Sierra Club. That is a big deal. And I'm delighted to talk to him for the rest of the hour when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Do you support public education? More than 38,000 educators at United Teachers Los Angeles do too. Together, we have fought for a better public education for our students and communities, and having you on our side has been essential in our fight for better public schools. Together, we will continue to work for public schools with green spaces, more mental health staff, smaller class sizes at every grade level, and a higher investment in the Black Student Achievement Plan. We are UTLA, and you make us stronger. City of Los Angeles tenants, get informed today about your eviction rights. Take immediate action if you receive an eviction notice from the court. You have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice or unlawful detainer. Don't self-evict. And you can't be evicted for non-payment of rent unless you owe more than the fair market rent for a unit your size. Learn more eviction information such as at-fault and no-fault evictions at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home. KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley and the executive director of the Sierra Club, the brother running the Sierra Club, Ben Jealous, formerly the president of the NAACP, and I'm still laughing. I laughed all through that break at the story that Ben told. I'll be laughing about that all day today, man. I think I'm going to be just laughing throughout the day. People are going to I'll be in a meeting and start laughing. Say, what are you laughing at? What? Never mind. It was something Ben Jealous told me earlier today. Anyway, let me do this. I'm glad I've got you for the hour. There's lots to talk about. Certainly the climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience stuff we're going to get to in this hour. But since you mentioned, or I mentioned the NAACP and you mentioned Jamal, I am reminded, of course, that not only were you the national president at one point of the venerable NAACP, Jamal Bryant started out as the youth director, the youth leader at the NAACP. So both of you, back to your story, are NAACP babies. Both of you had a major leadership role at the NAACP. When you look back on that moment and juxtapose where we were then in our fight for civil and human rights as the head of the NAACP and where we are today in 2024 in this America, fighting for those same rights again, fighting against some of the stuff we thought we had passed, some of the stuff we thought we had gotten done then have now retrenched. We're in retrenchment, and we're trying to fight these fights again. Just compare and contrast for me, if you will, where you think we were then in our fight and where we are now. Yesterday on this program, we had an hour in dialogue celebrating the 40th anniversary of Jesse Jackson's historic 84 run for president. So I'm in this mode as we're in Black History Month of, looking back and looking forward and taking stock of where we are now. So with that said, compare and contrast where we were then in our fight when you ran the NAACP and where you think we are today in 2024. I will shut up. The microphone is yours, Ben Jealous.
Well, if Jesse played the role of political Moses for us, leading us out of a sense of disempowerment and towards ultimately really recognizing that Black folks could do what Barack Obama did.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse was the first one to really make it look possible, especially with the 88 campaign. I would say Ben Chavis goes down as like the John the Baptist figure for the movement.
Mm.
And we really, he may have had the shortest tenure of any NAACP president. But, political prisoner, being released from prison, coming into leadership at the NAACP, and doing a few things in tight succession. One was throwing down a marker about the importance of dealing with poverty head on.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Chavis started his first week at the NAACP and was dealing with gun violence, in an embattled public housing project in Los Angeles. That was like day one for him. The second was really ringing the alarm on the environment and the need for the Black community to really organize and show leadership in dealing with the systematic poisoning of our community, and ultimately positioning us to take climate change more seriously. What we now call climate justice, we used to call environmental justice, we used to call environmental racism.
Mm-hmm.
And that public conversation was really pushed by Ben Chavis. And then, finally, Chavis, at a time, when we were young and the haircuts were bad and I may or may not have had a high top fade, there was, and I mean like I always get Kid and Play confused, but the light skinned one with the real tall one, high top. So I was aspiring for that kind of that. Chris and I got together a while ago, laughed about that. But back then, he also made it clear to Black people that the struggle was still continuing. We had to stay organized. Institutions like the NAACP had a real place in this fight. And I wouldn't have been the youngest president of the NAACP in its history, or the one who led it through electing and reelecting Barack Obama, fighting the Tea Party, all of that, but for Ben Chavis's example. And I sought to build on it in specific ways when I was there. And one of them was launching the climate justice program of the NAACP that is now active in every single chapter. In fact, your old friend Vic Bullock is now on staff here at Sierra Club leading our green partnerships.
Wow.
And my old friend. And he's also the chair of the Santa Monica branch of the NAACP Climate Justice Committee, as he has been for years. And so, I think it's important to give Ben his due, and to recognize how he really very rapidly, in a very short tenure at the NAACP, in many ways helped to announce what the struggle would be about for the next 30 or more years.
So there's a lot there to unpack. Let me start with this. What did Ben Chavis see then with regard to Black folk in the environment, and what did you see then that you built on? We'll get to your service now as the brother. Now I keep saying that a brother is running the Sierra Club. That's a whole nother conversation. Well,
it's unpack that for people, right? We're founded 1892.
Yeah.
We like the NAACP, we're in every corner of every state, but we have about 600-700 groups compared to NAACP's 2,400 chapters. But we're one of the few organizations that's in every state. We're in Puerto Rico, we're in D.C., we're in Guam. And honestly, that was part of the plan with the NAACP Climate Justice Program, was to meet with Sierra on the ground. But But going back to your question, Ben Chavis, one, had a very Southern perspective. Coming out of North Carolina, Black folks lost a lot of land in the South. We still, live in a lot of rural places where there's a lot of poison.
Yeah.
You talk to Mark Morial about his family that doesn't live in New Orleans, but lives outside of New Orleans, where the folks came to New Orleans from. They're down in St. James Parish. They're dealing with really hyper poisoning of their community in every way. And Ben carried that pain as somebody from North Carolina who was in touch with rural communities. And honestly, the NAACP of that era, of the 80s, in many ways have become obsessed with the rise of the Black middle class into the Black upper middle class. And that was important. But it was Chavis who gave us all a reality check and said, essentially, look, 48% of us were in poverty when King was assassinated. Roughly 48% of us are in poverty now, and we don't succeed without lifting all of us out of poverty. And the two things, being vulnerable to environmental poisoning, now we know being vulnerable to climate change, and being poor and being politically disempowered in the ways that race can compound poverty and politically disempowering people, is all connected. And Chavis really made that connection in a visceral way. And when I came into the NAACP, I was very clear that it was Chavis who inspired me to get more active in my 20s with the association, and that we needed to really understand his legacy and build on it. And the first thing I did was launch our Climate Justice Committee. It was actually my very first act as president of the NAACP. The interesting thing, it was easy to do, Tavis, because you could roll back the clock to 2008. The young people of the NAACP, their number one issue by a lot was climate change. And that's the thing I think that we as Black folks, I think we own, that we are just inherently environmentalists. If you look at the stats, statistically, Latinos tend to be number one as far as supporting greater environmental protections, Blacks number two. And if we're honest, college-educated whites are very much environmentalists, but the white community as a whole, not as much of a priority. 55% of white women voted for Trump, right, in 2016. And so we own that. But I think, the other thing that kind of we as Black folks really need to listen to our young people that we may not really understand is just how freaked out the young people are about the existential crisis that we're in. And my son is 11. And about a year before I took this job, he was 9. He very much did not want to talk about how babies were made. He was clear that was gross. But he also very much wanted to talk about, should he even plan on having one? He was 9. And it wasn't any conversation. It wasn't me being the head of the Sierra Club. It was conversations at school. It was conversations in the media. It's turning on the Weather Channel. And every single day, as Al Gore says, it is a march through the weather report of the book of Revelations, like every day. And so we, one of the things I love about our history and our legacy as Black people in this country, and I published a book this year called Never Forget Our People Were Always Free, and it was very much kind of a theme there, is just how optimistic we are despite it all. And that optimism comes from a place of faith typically, and it has made us resilient through horrors as a people, just literally the most terrible trials as a people. We've got to find ways to maintain it in this one. We will defeat this challenge. We will rise to it just like we have so many other existential crises for humanity before. But the only way we get there is, as they say in the Black church, we claim the victory in advance, and then we go make it real.
There you go. I've got about 3 minutes left here in right now, and we'll continue when we come forward. But let me just do a couple of things in these quick 3 minutes I have. Number one, when we come forward a few minutes from now, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to give you some breaking news here. This station is about to release a major poll that we've just done on Black folk and climate. It is a major poll, the first of its kind done by a Black media organization. I'll tease you with some of that when we come forward, since being Gillis was just talking about black people and where we rank in terms of environmental protections. Number 2, behind our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. So this poll has been, I've been studying it for the last couple of days, getting ready to release it nationally. But the data is just arresting for me about how black people see the existential crisis that we face. I'll tease you with some of that before the whole of the nation even sees the press release. You will hear about it on this program in just a matter of moments. But that said, this question right quick in 2.5 minutes, and we'll continue again when we come forward, Ben. But to what extent did Katrina ring the bell for us or not? You tell me.
It rang the bell for everybody, and it is going to be the 20th anniversary next year. I hope you'll put on your calendar those starting on Earth Day and then the days that follow to that Saturday. We'll be gathering Sierra Club nationally for only the second time in our 132 years, and the last time we did was 2005, basically the week after Hurricane Katrina, ironically. And so Sierra Club diving into fighting climate change, like the NAACP, was very much fueled by Katrina. Again, you saw it in the poll of the NAACP Youth and College Division taken in 2007, just a couple of years after Hurricane Katrina, just before Galveston, which would then send a bunch of Hurricane Katrina evacuees, out of Houston. When that came in, so that 1-2 punch of 2005, 2008, really devastating for the black community and really shifted our mindset. You also saw it in the Sierra Club. Ironically, literally the week that Hurricane Katrina would happen in New Orleans, Al Gore was scheduled to spend several days with leaders of the insurance industry to explain to them how how climate change was about to eat their lunch.
Right.
And then God did it better, right? I mean, my favorite, maybe Onion, the satirical newspaper on college campuses called The Onion. My favorite headline of all time was the week after Hurricane Katrina, that edition of The Onion read, "God outdoes terrorists again." Like, we forget the magnitude.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the magnitude. Here it was 7 years after September 11th, and The Onion was reminding people that what happened down there was even bigger.
No, God has a way. He has a way, and he spoke that day and the days that followed that hurricane. We're delighted to be joined by the brother, head of the Sierra Club, Ben Gillis. And there's a lot more to talk about when we come forward. I'll tell you a bit about this poll that we're about to release here in a couple of days. You'll hear it here first. And I've got a lot more to ask Ben Gillis about when we come forward in this dialogue about black folk in particular and climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience, and why this issue matters to us, or certainly ought to matter now more than ever. I'm delighted to have Ben Gillis right now on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The first gender-based federal hate crime in the nation is underway in South Carolina. It's a case about a black transgender woman murdered in 2019. The United States is vetoing a resolution at the UN calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. American Airlines is pushing customers to buy tickets directly from the airline, and it's raising the cost of checking bags. It's not common for airlines to follow suit when one of their rivals increase fee cost. The Mega Millions jackpot rolls over again. With no grand prize winner in Tuesday night's drawing, a whopping $525 million is up for grabs in Friday's drawing. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 news, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Can't wait weeks for your tax refund? Then don't. At Jackson Hewitt, get money today if you're approved for a no-fee refund advance loan on a prepaid card. Book today at jacksonhewitt.com. No-fee refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams and Chargers are among the 32 NFL teams that sent scouts to New Orleans this week for the HBCU Combine. The Combine continues today. 47 players from HBCU schools are getting the chance to work out for NFL teams in hopes of getting drafted in April. Only one HBCU player was selected in the 2023 draft. Jackson State cornerback Isaiah Bolden was taken in the 7th round by New England. The NFL would like to see that number go up this year. The league created the HBCU Combine because most of the players are unlikely to get invited to the NFL's main combine, which starts Monday in Indianapolis. A healthy Kawhi Leonard is one of the reasons the Clippers have the 3rd best record in the Western Conference. Leonard has played in 48 of the Clippers' 53 games. He's averaging 24.1 points and shooting at career-high 45% from three-point range. Keep your fingers crossed. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Linking social justice and climate justice all year long. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Wendy's Breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles lets you choose your perfect duo from your fave 4, like a sausage or egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, or medium hot coffee. Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in the combo. Single item at regular price.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows the Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Are you facing an unexpected financial emergency? You need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com can help you get up to $3,000 fast. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to the name you trust, WeFixMoney.com. If you need emergency cash up to $3,000 for bills or anything else, type WeFixMoney.com directly into your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
More of Tavis Smiley and Ben Jealous, the head of the Sierra Club, who I'm delighted and honored to have on this program in this hour. Let me jump straight to that. We talked about your backstory at the NAACP and the work you did there, sort of seeding the ground, as it were, for the work that you would later do. I assume you had no idea it would happen this way, but as fate would have it, or as God would have it, here you are now running the Sierra Club. And let me just ask you point blank: what is it like for a brother to be selected to run the Sierra Club? What does that mean?
Well, that's a real question. I never thought they would ask. I grew up in the Sierra Club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a second-generation Sierra Club member. I'm a fifth-generation NAACP member. My parents' marriage had been against the law in Maryland, and so they moved out to Northern California. And I was born in Carmel when Ansel Adams, the great Sierra Club board member and outdoors photographer, was around. He died when I was 11, and I grew up knowing his protégés and seeing him around town. And that town, Carmel, as you know, it's framed by wilderness, right? It's Big Sur and all of that, and that was my playground. In fact, Tavis, little known fact about the youngest president of the NAACP is that I still hold the record as the youngest tour guide in the history of the Monterey Bay Aquarium. They actually created an age requirement because I was like the Doogie Howser. They said, "Look, you got to take a college marine biology class." And the general counsel said, "Well, this will satisfy our insurance because it means that no children will be working here."
Mm-hmm.
And then I took that college marine biology class when I was 12. And after me, they said, "Okay, we're not going to fire the kid, but no more." And you had to be 18 after that. And so for me, and I started the first high school chapter of the Student Environmental Action Coalition and, co-founded their People of Color Caucus. And the two movements of my life have been the civil rights movement and the environmental movement. And yet Sierra Club had never had anybody but white men as their, might have an acting person of color, acting woman in between two white men. But the 7 executive directors before me, the 6 before me, have all been white men. And when they called, it was funny because when I stepped down from NAACP, somebody had said to me, like, "Would you ever lead a big national organization again?" And I said, like, maybe the Sierra Club, but they'll never call. Like, literally, it was and then they called. And I jumped at it because I love Sierra Club the same reason I loved when I was a kid. Sierra Club, first and foremost, we get people outdoors into the most beautiful parts of nature. We are the ones, our founder, John Muir, is the person that Teddy Roosevelt called when he was thinking about preserving land. He was inspired by 20 years of writing by John Muir. He was inspired to think that perhaps we should start preserving land. And he said, "John, please take me camping." The President of the United States asked the founder of the Sierra Club to take him camping. And John knew where to take him. He took him to this valley where John, when he was young, worked at a sawmill and was aghast that they were basically deforesting this valley. That valley is what we know as Yosemite Valley National Park.
Wow.
Yosemite National Park. And it was from that camping trip that the entire national park system was spawned. And what made Sierra Club different from the beginning was we weren't just trying to get people outdoors to clean out their lungs. There was a lot of urban pollution back in the 1890s and the 1900s, and that was a concern.
Yeah.
We were getting people outdoors to transform their souls. Because there's some places so beautiful like Yosemite, like the Muir Woods north of San Francisco, for example, that once you walk through them, you are just a different person. I remember taking Harry Lennox, the star of the Five Heartbeats, etc.
Love Harry,
to Big Sur.
Yeah,
I took Harry down to Big Sur. He'll tell you that it changed his life. And so Sierra Club, first and foremost, we get people outdoors to transform their souls. And from that, we're the organization that built the preservationist wing of the old conservationist movement. Conservationism historically very closely allied to industrialists. It's a movement that tries to balance things, but always seems to balance it towards the industrialists at the end of the day. And Sierra Club came on the scene way back when and said, no. Would you turn a cathedral into a warehouse? There's some places that are just so beautiful, they're only made for one purpose. And that's who we are, and that's what we do to this day.
Let me ask you another point-blank question. I asked you what it means for a black man to run the Sierra Club. Let me ask you another question. How do you juxtapose, how do you square, how do you frame, how do you explain, pick your word, that this movement, this environmental movement in this country has for so long been so white? To your point, they've only had white executive directors of the Sierra Club till Ben Jealous shows up. How do you explain, when people ask you this question, when this issue comes up, that the movement, as it were, has always been so white? The good white folk run the movement. But the folk who are being victimized by these catastrophes, by these maladies, happen to be black people, poor people of color. That just doesn't square for me. And it's going to lead me to saying what I'm going to say in a moment about why my hometown station in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580, has announced earlier this year, as you well know, a $2 million plus climate justice campaign for the entire year. It is up and running. We have all sorts of partners, including, I'm grateful to say, the Sierra Club. And so we're doing our work, and I'll talk about this poll we're about to release here as we move forward. But in the few minutes I have right now, explain for me why and how the movement can be so white, but the victims of climate catastrophes, and as I said, climate maladies, happen to be black people, brown people, poor people. Ben Jealous?
Well, a couple of things. Let me also just go back a little bit to that first question you asked about being black. One thing about being black and leading the Sierra Club is that you've got to hold the whole. You got to own all of it, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to say, we are proud that the first Rangers of Yosemite National Park were the Buffalo Soldiers, and they were black men. They were the first Rangers.
Yes.
But you also got to own they were there to run out the Native Americans, right?
Yep.
And you got to hold all that pride and all that pain in the same place, right? You got to be able to hold that. John Muir ultimately preserved places that were sacred to Native Americans and was appreciated by several chiefs before he died for doing that. But honestly, his if you go back 40 years, 30 years before that, his understanding of black people, his understanding of Native Americans was pretty typical, and not the worst, but pretty typical for white men at the end of the 19th century. It was not an enlightened view of either group. And honestly, he started off imagining nature without Native Americans in it. Right? Mm-hmm. You've got to hold, so you've got to hold all of that and say, what I think is sort of obvious, which is that, people who do good are often the same people who do wrong. Mm-hmm. People that we're proud of as great black vets. Thurgood Marshall's father was in the U.S. Grandfather was in the U.S. Cavalry. He was a hero in West Baltimore for that service before Thurgood was. And yet, what the U.S. Cavalry did was not all good. Mm-hmm. And so, similarly, coming into Sierra Club, it's obvious. Like, look, black and brown folks are even more environmentalists than white people on average. That is true. We need to open our doors wider. Asian Americans, Native Americans as well. And yet, it is also true that 50, 60 years ago, when Sierra Club had just been in one state for its entire existence to that point, a group of college-educated, liberal white folks who liked things like hiking and rock climbing decided to spread this club to the entire country, and we own it, and we owe a debt to them.
Yeah.
And so it's that, right? It's just fundamentally, I think, it's easier to sort of get to being an all-American organization.
Yeah.
When you bring in somebody from a community that, if we're honest, as black folks, we've always had to hold the whole. Yeah.
No, I think they are the Sierra Club, that is blessed to have you. We're blessed to have Ben Jealous as its leader. And it's about time. It's about time that they understand, as they do, that people of color have got to be involved in this conversation. You got to elevate the dialogue. You got to amplify their voices. People of color cannot be left out of this conversation. And Ben Jealous is not just in the conversation; he's leading it as the head of the Sierra Club. When we come forward, some detail about a poll that we're just about to release, and you'll hear some of the details first on this program. When we come forward with Ben Jealous, you're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
He's rooting for everybody Black. Everybody Black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
So in the very, very near future, that may be tomorrow, maybe the next day, but we're working through it now. But in the next day or two, my home station in LA, KBLA Talk 1580, will be releasing some national news about a survey that we've taken specifically of Black persons here in Southern California. The whole nation has been watching California of late because of all the monsoons, the rainstorms. Every day you see the effects of climate change in the state of California. Not alone, not only in California, but it's pretty acute here in the so-called Golden State. And so it makes sense then that we would be asking Black folk, particularly in California, their thoughts on climate justice concerns. Let me just share this tidbit with you. I'm quoting now from the press release that will soon be out, but you're hearing it first right now on Tavis Smiley with Ben Jealous. The results of our survey highlight that more than 7 in 10, 72% of respondents believe there is a direct connection between environmental justice, social justice, and civil rights. Equally as important, respondents overwhelmingly believe that pollution, climate change, and other forms of environmental harm impact Black, Latino, and low-income communities more than white, Asian, wealthy, and coastal communities. Notably, this finding holds true across ideological lines and is consistent among Black progressives, liberals, moderates, and conservatives. That's all I'll give you for right now. There's a lot of data that you'll see, a lot of charts and graphs that go with this survey. Of course, it'll be posted on our website at the appropriate time. But when you hear that, Ben Jealous, none of that surprises you. But what do you make of that reality that we've discovered in this most recent survey that we've done of Black folk in Southern California?
Well, first of all, in this election year of the election years, I'm a little worried that you found a statistically significant sample of Black conservatives. I don't like to hear that even exists. No, I mean, look, that's all consistent, and I think our community follows science, and the rest of the country would be wise to. We, as a country, we have followed science to, avert existential crises before, for example, from nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
What we learned about how we needed to make a sharp turn there. And if we're honest, following science has also been key to building an economy historically that lifts all boats, right? Like we got there pretty fast with the car, maybe first. We and the Germans debate that, but it was following that science and what it could do for human mobility that really jump-started the American economy in the last century. And that's what I think people are not realizing right now, is that this debate, like there's any other future for the automobile besides it becoming increasingly electric.
Yeah.
This debate, like there's any other future for power, let alone power people can afford, except for becoming increasingly solar and wind, is a distraction. And it's delaying the U.S. from seizing the market. The only question is whether China controls 85 or 98% of the solar panel market globally.
Yeah.
Now, on EVs, we control a lot more than they do, but they're steadily making ground. Any delay and further delay in the U.S. seizing either only benefits China. And I don't know a black person of any political persuasion or an American of any color in any political persuasion that wants to further enrich China in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the sort of false debates that Fox News and Donald Trump have suggested, have subjected our country to with their constant disinformation on these issues. There's only one country that wins. It is not us. It is China.
It is.
Got to take that serious.
Nope. I take your point. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Ben Jealous, I want to get two things to him. He mentioned following science. I wonder how he reads all of these science deniers in Congress and beyond in real time. And finally, he just completed his first year as head of the Sierra Club. I'm going to ask him what his plans are for the future. What does he hope to accomplish in the days ahead? That when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts. Hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, in downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
I got a tight 3 minutes here, Ben. Let's just 3 quick minutes here. Tell me how you read these science deniers who are sadly, regrettably, running our country. And having served now your first year as head of the Sierra Club, what are the plans for the future?
Yeah, I see them as corrupt. Typically, you follow the money, it goes back to the oil and gas industry. The Republican Party, at least 32% of their PAC dollars come from big oil, big gas. The American people need to recognize what we're dealing with. It is a rigged economy. It is a corrupt political system. And honestly, you get into these state capitals, it gets even more alarming. Yeah. Leading Sierra Club right now, we've got 3 crises that we are taking on all at once. One is the extinction crisis. We don't talk enough about that, but we are losing species at an unprecedented rate in human history, and we've got to really do everything we can to protect them. And that means protecting more land, protecting more wild places. 2, we have this climate crisis. If we move quickly to really shift even faster from reliance on coal and fossil fuels to reliance on solar and wind, few things happen. 1, everything gets cheaper. Those are now the cheapest way to get power. 2, everything gets more resilient. Solar and wind are the most resilient ways to power our communities. 3, the air gets cleaner. And then if the 4th one, we actually will build the next economy. And we need to understand that. What's not being said is honestly the future billions and trillions this country is losing because the deniers have us delaying, seizing this moment to really lead on EVs, to really lead in solar and wind in the way that humanity needs us to and the way that frankly, the American people demand we do. And let me just kind of give you one hopeful image. I was down in Dalton, Georgia. Dalton and Cartersville, Q-Cells is building the largest solar panel production facility in the Western Hemisphere. And when you meet with those poor white folks, when you meet with those working class black folks, when you meet with those working class Latinos, many of whom used to work in a carpet factory, what inspires you most isn't just that they have greater dignity in their work, but they all feel on mission, and their kids tell them that they're on mission. They feel like they are preparing for the Earth shot the way that people at NASA back in the day felt like they were preparing for the moon shot. That's the future for us.
Ben Jealous isn't just brilliant. He isn't just an amazing leader, having run 2 national organizations. Who does that? NAACP and now the Sierra Club, having now completed his first year as executive director of the latter. But he's a great guy, and I'm honored to call him brother, honored to call him friend, honored to have the Sierra Club under his leadership as a partner on this climate justice campaign that we're undertaking for the entire year. Thank you for your partnership, Ben Jealous. Thank you for your leadership, your friendship. Good to have you on, my friend. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Love you. Appreciate you. Keep speaking truth to power. You do it better than most, that's for sure.
Love you back, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. More Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The first gender-based federal hate crime in the nation is underway in South Carolina. It's a case about a black transgender woman murdered in 2019. The United States is vetoing a resolution at the UN calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. American Airlines is pushing customers to buy tickets directly from the airline, and it's raising the cost of checking bags. It's not common for airlines to follow suit when one of their rivals increase fee cost. The Mega Millions jackpot rolls over again with no grand prize winner in Tuesday night's drawing. A whopping $525 million is up for grabs in Friday's drawing. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 news, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Can't wait weeks for your tax refund? Then don't. At Jackson Hewitt, get money today if you're approved for a no-fee refund advance loan on a prepaid card. Book today at jacksonhewitt.com. No fee